Order, order. I will call Sarah Edwards to move the motion, and I will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention for 30-minute debates. Order, order. Sarah Edwards to move the motion.
Thank you, Chair, and it's an honour to serve under your chairship. And I beg to move that this House has considered the defence industries in the West Midlands. Global threats are evolving, making defence investment more critical than ever. A strong defence underpins our security and sovereignty, but we must scale up to meet the modern challenges. The warning flags were raised in 2014, and yet the UK lacked a long-term strategy. The defence industry drives innovation and economic growth, but skills shortages and supply chain volatility risk holding it back. Our armed forces are only as strong as our defence sector. Across the West Midlands and the UK, the defence industry provides security, supports thousands of jobs and fuels innovation in areas such as AI, cyber and advanced manufacturing. The region is home to major players including Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems and Babcock, with BAE Systems alone working with 11 SMEs, including one in my constituency of Tamworth. The government's renewed focus on defence as a part of its industrial strategy is welcome. And I also support the recent commitment to the largest defence spending increase since the Cold War, meaning that we will spend 2.5% of GDP on defence. With post-war alliances shifting, we must continue investing in our defence capabilities. The upcoming defence industrial strategy must prioritise British businesses, especially SMEs, ensuring... I will give way.
Thank you. I recently visited Somers Forge in my constituency. This is the 10th oldest SME in the United Kingdom, and they have been supplying defence equipment since the Battle of Blenheim in 1744. It was great to meet with their team and to see the important work that they do. Does my honourable friend agree with me that our defence industrial strategy will really help SMEs access defence investment and boost businesses like Somers Forge in the West Midlands?
I thank the member for his contribution, and I absolutely do agree. This industrial strategy is essential in making sure that we've got that focus to support our businesses right across the region and making sure that they are successful. So I thank him for that. If one moment, I will just progress slightly. Thank you. The upcoming defence industrial strategy must prioritise British businesses, including SMEs, ensuring that investment creates jobs and strengthens our national security. Currently, nearly 18,000 people work in defence SMEs in the West Midlands, and the MOD spends £1.6 billion annually in the region, making it the UK's third largest defence hub. By backing UK industry and fostering cooperation between government, business and workers, we can build a defence sector fit for the future. I will give way.
First of all, can I commend the Honourable Lady for Tamworth for bringing this forward? And the Honourable Lady is certainly making a reputation for herself to be an assiduous MP in this House on these issues. Very much welcome what the Honourable Lady has said in relation to government's commitment to 2.5%, increasing to 3%. There's nobody in the United Kingdom that doesn't welcome that. Does the Honourable Lady agree that I know we in Northern Ireland are very, very strong sectors in the work we do for the Royal Navy and the work we do with Talis. But does the Honourable Lady agree with me when it comes to ensuring that all parts of the United Kingdom can get advantage of this, as the Honourable Lady has referred to? And does she feel that it's not just security, but it's also the economy and the jobs and the opportunities, so we can all be part of this process going forward to support the Minister and support the Labour Government?
Thank you, and absolutely I do agree with the member, and in fact I will go on later to talk about just how important it is that all of our regions, that all of our nations are embedded in this process, and also that they all contribute different skills that are of value, because there are so many different aspects to defence and our defence industries that contribute, and that goes well past and into other areas of manufacturing. So thank you for raising that point. Last week, the Business and Trade Select Committee heard from Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, Leonardo and MDNA on the Global Combat Air Programme, which is an alliance between the UK, Italy and Japan, who are designing Tempest fighter jets. This alliance integrates advanced air combat technology, ensuring that our defence capabilities match evolving threats. Defence alliances are a cornerstone of trade diplomacy, driving both national security and industrial growth. They have been cited as having the potential to drive our export growth while cementing important alliances for our defence. One area raised with the committee was the short-term nature of defence funding cycles, and that even major companies operate on a one-year funding cycle, making it difficult to sustain long-term projects like Tempest. National security priorities don't fit neatly into parliamentary terms, and our defence sector needs stability. And it was suggested that perhaps moving to a 3- or 5-year funding model would provide certainty, drive innovation, and ensure that the UK remains a global leader in defence. So could I ask the Minister what conversations he is having on the contractual arrangements that are currently in play for companies and the assessment that he has made to their ability to help the government to reach its goals for the sector and for national security? Export-led growth will be essential to the defence industries, who need a wider base than just their own sovereign purchasing power. By exporting technology and products, companies will be able to keep the continuity of build programmes going away from that boom and bust cycle. And we could be using industry to foster diplomatic relations of bilateral importance. The future of the defence industry relies on a workforce equipped with the right skills and adaptable to the evolving demands of our armed forces and the Ministry of Defence.
Will my honourable friend give way?
I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend and neighbour for giving way and for bringing this important debate today. Every year, Bedworth residents show their pride for our armed forces with their Armistice Day parade that I was privileged to take part in this year. And many of my constituents already work in the defence and security sector in SMEs around the West Midlands. And I'm glad that this number will only go up with the government's increased investment in our defence and security. Does my honourable friend agree with me that the West Midlands should be proud of the contribution we make towards defence and security of our nation, and we should look forward to seeing more people benefiting from the skills and training that come with joining this industry?
Thank you. That contribution is absolutely paramount to this debate, which is that we are very proud as the West Midlands being that third largest region that contributes to the defence sector, but also that our constituents work very hard to contribute to that. So it's incredibly important that people see that they are a part of this endeavour, and it's not, you know, something that's happening far away from them. They are an essential part. So thank you very much for raising that point. To achieve this, we must create clear skills-based career pathways that allow individuals to upskill or transition into the sector at different stages of their careers. One effective way to address this challenge is through closer collaboration between further education centres and the defence industry. These partnerships are critical in identifying skills gaps and shaping education programmes that directly address industry needs. By doing so, we can provide young people with a clear vision of how they can step into the defence industry. Too often, young people underestimate the transferability of their skills across industries. Many assume that the expertise they gain in education or early career roles is limited to a single sector, and abilities such as problem-solving, teamwork, communication and technical proficiency are in high demand across multiple fields. An engineering student may not realise that their expertise is equally valuable in defence. At the same time, we must ensure that those already within the armed forces and the MOD have the opportunity to reskill and upskill. A zigzag career approach where individuals move between roles and gain new skills. And this would allow personnel to adapt to the changes, ensuring that the MOD retains experienced talent whilst keeping pace with technological advancements. In my constituency, we are fortunate to house DMS Whittington, which hosts the Defence Medical Academy. This institution is dedicated to advancing the training and the research that can provide our military personnel with the best medical care and knowledge required to tackle complex injuries on the battlefield. Linking our industries with our military centres provides opportunities for skills development and transfer. And that social value created by defence industries is strategic value. Larger companies in the West Midlands are capitalising on key skills, and some companies like Rolls-Royce and BAE Systems are currently creating their own apprenticeship training programmes. But could I ask the Minister how he's working with the Skills Minister on developing pathways and opportunities that directly respond to the needs of the sector?
Will my honourable friend give way?
I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend and thank you for bringing forward this very important debate. The Manufacturing Technology Centre in my constituency of Rugby held a round table that I attended that was chaired by the Minister for Defence Procurement and also the Minister for Nature, one of my neighbouring MPs, to discuss with local businesses their involvement in the defence supply chain. So I'm very interested in what she's saying about these large companies investing in skills development. And I'd also like to put on the record that GE Vernova in my constituency is a 130-year-old company based in Rugby that's specialising in electric propulsion systems for naval vessels. And they've supplied propulsion systems for the Royal Navy's Type 23 frigates, and indeed later developed and delivered the world's first fully electric warships. And 92% of the Royal Navy's fleet is powered by their electric propulsion systems. And this is vital because it's creating new jobs in Rugby, and it's creating new jobs across the country. And so would she agree with me that we welcome, on this side of the House, the government's commitment to spreading the economic benefits of the defence sector across the entire country?
I absolutely do agree with the member, and I thank him for his contribution. And it's almost as though he must have predicted what I might go on to speak about next, because I will soon tell you a story about a visit that I made. But I think it's really important, and the fact that you have a company that's been there for 130 years just shows that Britain really is at that prowess, and we don't want to lose that. And we've got to make sure that this strategy makes sure that businesses like that are still going, and making sure that that innovation is being incorporated into technology. So let me tell you about what I was going to tell you, which is that the Business and Trade Select Committee went to Scotland on Monday, because while ships are manufactured in Scotland, it takes a whole country to build them. This week, the Business and Trade Select Committee witnessed the incredible work in shipbuilding taking place at BAE Systems at their site in Govan. And the commitment to skills development in Scotland is impressive, with competitive apprenticeship programmes open to all ages, allowing career changes and retraining. The programmes are more competitive than gaining a place at Oxford University, highlighting that value in the practical skills and apprenticeships. The narrative that university is the only option to success has in part fueled a shortage in skills. And during our visit, I stood aboard the HMS Cardiff in its fit-out stage and saw where HMS Birmingham will soon start the next phase of its construction in the giant hangar, which is large enough for 2 ships to be built side by side. The Type 26 frigates being built in Scotland are world-class, and when used properly are crucial for our trade diplomacy strategy, with many countries eager to buy British. A key theme raised to support the success of the defence industrial strategy was the importance of continuity of work to preserve an essential skills base. For example, steel may come from Port Talbot in Wales, making up 4% of the cost of a ship, but 25% of the cost is in the combat systems requiring digital engineering and design expertise found in places like Hertfordshire. Fostering both innovation across defence and civil sectors like aerospace are crucial, as demonstrated by the evidence given to the Trade Select Committee yesterday by Airbus. They cited that more than 50% of the supply chain is both defence and civil. And this visit reinforced the importance of a collaborative nationwide approach to defence. From steel manufacturing to advanced digital systems, every region and nation of the UK contributes to defence and innovation, playing a part in our national security. So could I ask if the Minister would meet with me and to meet with defence companies in my constituency to talk about how they can continue to play, and indeed play a greater part, in this endeavour that the government has set out. To ensure that long-term security and strength of our defence and industrial sectors, we must build that greater reliance across our supply chains.
Will she give way on that, please?
I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way and for securing this debate and with the way that she is leading it. In my constituency, we have JCB, which is a major employer and manufacturer, but we've also got Crestchick Load Banks, which is a smaller SME, and they can often find it difficult to get access to government contracts. So does she agree with me that as we look at the defence industrial strategy, we have to make sure that we're backing British business and all of those companies can make a contribution to our shared national defence?
I thank the member for his contribution, and I absolutely agree. We've got to back British, we've got to buy British, and we've got to make sure that the West Midlands is keeping that pole position place, whereby it is innovating and ensuring that those companies that are working across civil and defence are able to get the maximum benefit from the new procurement and contracts that will be coming through the MOD. A comprehensive review of the UK supply chain is essential to ensure that SMEs have visibility and fair access to government contracts. One moment, let me just take a few more moments. Smaller businesses often struggle to break into large procurement processes dominated by major players, and access to funding is difficult. And again, the annual funding cycles were cited by Flairbright and Gibson Robotics as problematic for growing SMEs in the evidence that we heard yesterday. And I will give way.
I thank her for giving way, being very generous in doing so, and giving us this opportunity to discuss this important issue. She's clearly setting out the value of the defence sector in Tamworth and the villages and our region more widely. In Cannock, engineers at Briggs Equipment have extended the operational life of the RAF's fleet of bespoke air transportable forklift trucks by at least 10 years. Now, that might not be the most high-profile type of equipment, but these specialist forklifts are being used in everyday logistics, military and humanitarian missions as far as Cyprus, Ascension Island and the Falklands. So would my honourable friend agree that local businesses like this are essential to the wider defence supply chain, providing high-quality jobs, boosting skills and contributing to Staffordshire's success? Thank you.
I thank the member and absolutely agree, and particularly his shout out for his own constituency and also, of course, for Staffordshire, who play an incredibly important role. And as previous members have said, we've definitely got a concentration of companies that are working really hard, and there is a benefit to the dual use aspects of these, and that is definitely something that we could be pushing as a nation to make sure that we're getting the most for all of our regions. RAND Europe, commissioned by the MOD in 2021, found that SMEs and mid-tier suppliers face difficulties in accessing and engaging with top-tier suppliers and the MOD. Barriers included a lack of corporate functions and challenges in marketing their businesses to prime contractors. UK defence supply chains also struggle to attract non-traditional suppliers due to slow, inflexible and bureaucratic processes. It concluded that the MOD's approach to contracting is seen as inflexible and disadvantageous to lower-tier suppliers, which discourages innovation. Examples about how the MOD could support smaller suppliers and foster innovation were cited as being in part possible due to the Defence Security Accelerator Programme, or DASA programme. This is because it creates a contract for revenue, and that is vital to a firm for demonstrating to other investors that they are viable. Grants can't be treated in the same way. So could the Minister reflect on how the DASA programme could be expanded perhaps more to closely align with the challenges that SMEs face in developing products and solving problems? The DASA programme has an element of mentoring, which those that have used it cited as being very valuable. And the US also uses a model where they have technical liaison officers scouting for companies and then supporting them through the complex military procurement and due diligence processes. And so has the Minister considered a similar scheme perhaps in defence industrial policy? And has he spoken with his colleagues in the Department for Business Trade about how to align those goals for maximum impact? We heard yesterday on the committee panel that procurement towards capability might better suit a fast-paced environment where military technology now inhabits. Ukraine has shown that innovation is happening in weeks, not years. And so the procurement need, rather than the defined item, may in some circumstances foster better results. And the Strategic Defence Review will also be an important part of informing these decisions. It's a vital first step taken by this government to ensure that we have the right force capability and fit for the future, and that when we spend money, we spend it well. It was suggested perhaps that one large innovation hub could be created, and that these create facilities for testing programs that then enable smaller companies to continue to develop and then lead to small-scale buying programs. That could then be scaled into larger-scale buying programs. And this would set a clear pathway that could be stewarded by a link liaison individual. So these are some of the things that we have heard through the committee that we think could be used in support of the government's ideals. So in closing, the West Midlands is showcasing the incredible potential of the UK's defence industry as a driver of security, economic growth, innovation and skills development. Investing in reskilling and upskilling is crucial for those currently serving in the armed forces and the MOD, as well as future-proofing our defence workforce. Building resilience in our supply chains by prioritising UK businesses, especially SMEs, in procurement decisions is essential. And I want to thank members here for showcasing all of their own companies and their constituents and constituencies in the work that they do to support the defence industries. By making funding more accessible and breaking down barriers to entry, we can harness British innovation and ensure that our defence industry remains competitive globally. This government has taken decisive action by focusing on an industrial strategy that prioritises defence, and amidst global uncertainty, we must provide calm and focus on developing security systems that prepare our nation for any eventuality. Including our regions in this strategy unlocks opportunities and high-skilled jobs that benefit local communities everywhere, including in my own constituency of Tamworth. We have talent, expertise and ambition, and now we must make the right choices to unlock that potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mearson. It's good to see you there. And I know, as a former Defence Minister, you all know these subjects that we're debating here well. I might be a proud Janner, someone from Plymouth, but my great-grandfather, Alfred Carey, was working in the automotive industry, making Hillman Minxes in the West Midlands. So I feel there's a little bit of connection to the debate that we've had today from my own past. But can I congratulate the member for Tamworth for bringing this debate and for speaking so passionately about not only why we need to defend our national security, learn the lessons from Ukraine, but how we can spend that increased defence spending that was announced by the Prime Minister to create more British jobs, more opportunities for our young people to develop skills that will last them a lifetime, and support the growth mission that is this government's #1 mission as in office. So I'd like to thank her for securing this debate. As a native of the area, she knows better than most the importance of defence to West Midlands. But while it's clear that defence makes a considerable contribution to the West Midlands in jobs, investment and prosperity, today's debate also reminds us of the huge contribution that the West Midlands makes to UK defence and the possibility of doing even more. While billions of pounds are injected annually by industry and government into the West Midlands defence enterprises, we know our military is only as strong as the supply chain that supports it. And what we've heard today is not only a clarion call for support for the big defence companies, the Rolls-Royces, the BAE Systems, the Babcocks that we have in the West Midlands, but it was also a call for further investment in SMEs as well. And I'll come back to that one in a moment. As a government, we are determined to nurture and develop the region's defence cluster and defence businesses. And as part of that, we need to invest more in skills. And I'm glad that she spoke about that. We know that the world is becoming more dangerous. Britain is facing rising threats. And this government also faces challenges of rebuilding and reinvigorating our armed forces after a decade and a half of underfunding and hollowing out. It's why we launched the Strategic Defence Review, to assess the dangers we face and determine the capabilities we need to meet them. It's why we've brought forward our promise to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence to April 2027 and 3% in the next Parliament when economic conditions allow. And it's why we're working hard on defence reform and the new defence industrial strategy to unlock the potential of suppliers across the country. Now, as alluded to by the member for Tamworth, there is a well-known phrase in military circles that soldiers win battles, but supply chains win wars. And she is right when she made the case that we need to invest more in our defence industry, because there are companies out there today who will not regard themselves as a defence company. People who are working in data or digital, advanced manufacturing, people who support the wider supply chain. They are defence companies in the waiting. They are people innovating that could support the next generation of military equipment and military operations. And so in making the case for investment in defence businesses, we need to be aware that as a government, if we get defence procurement right, we can expand the number of companies that are involved. That increases the economic benefits of spending, but it also enables us to access the skills, the ingenuity, the innovation, especially amongst SMEs. I'll give way there.
Thank the Minister for giving way. And I just wondered if, picking up on that point, You mentioned, for example, earlier about the automotive sector and that many people don't realise that they're working in comparative industries or in cybersecurity. How can we, as parliamentarians, work to showcase these different ways that people are contributing, or that they could be, working in the defence industry? How can we promote that? What does the Minister think that we could be doing more, and as a government together, to make sure that people realise that there is a wider shared endeavour and that their skills are very transferable?
It's an excellent question, and it comes down to, I think, how we implement the Defence Industrial Strategy that my colleague, the Minister for Defence Procurement and Industry, is leading on within the department. That needs to tie in with the whole of government effort. And I think the whole of government effort and the whole of society effort to our national defence is something that we as a parliament will need to speak more of in the future. Because it is certainly true that to defend our nation and to support our allies, we will need not just that to be a mission held passionately by people in uniform and the Ministry of Defence, it will need to be a mission that every department across government understands their contribution to. And I think when we invest in skills, we have the opportunity to do that. And I'm very grateful for her mentioning about the Type 26 builds in Scotland. As the constituency MP for Devonport in Plymouth, where the Type 26s will be based, I know what incredible frigates these will be, how they will deter Russian submarine activity in the North Atlantic, how they will directly contribute to the security of our nation and our allies. But to build those frigates, we need to invest in skills on a long-term basis. And it is an area we're looking at in terms of how we can address multi-year budgets, investing more in skills and supply chain, rather than having the annual cycle. Now, to do that, speaking frankly, Defence needs to spend money better than it has done in the past, something that the Defence Secretary has been very clear on. That's why he started a programme of defence reform, to make sure that we are not only reforming the way that we fight, the way we're configured, but also the way we procure. And the recruitment for a new National Armaments Director is a really significant part of driving that defence reform that needs to directly support SMEs as well as primes. I'll be giving away.
For giving way. We were talking about procurement. Just this week I was in Brussels meeting with members of the European Parliament to talk about our collective response to Ukraine. And one of the challenges that Somers Forge in my constituency of Hales Owen faces is struggling with European supply chains and the trade barriers between the UK and Europe. Will the Minister commit, as we go through a new reset with Europe, to push for greater access for defence industries to the European market?
Well, I'm grateful for him for talking about Somers Forge and the opportunities. It's certainly something that my colleagues in the Cabinet Office that are leading that reset work with Europe are very conscious of. It's also something that the Defence Secretary picked up with High Commissioner Callas from the European Commission yesterday to look at what are the opportunities for UK industry, which is already integrated across our European partners, to be able to work without some of the obstacles that will get in the way of us delivering the defence capabilities that we need to deter Russian aggression. So there's an opportunity. But can I, in the few moments remaining to me, talk about SMEs? Because a number of the members here today spoke about the importance of SMEs in their constituencies and the jobs that they provide. 5 years ago, the Ministry of Defence spent 5% of its direct spend with small and medium enterprises. In July last year, we inherited a situation where that had fallen to 4%. Now, as a department, we have set an ambition to spend more on direct spend with SMEs across the country. We're consulting on what that level should be, so it's achievable but stretching, and we're working with organisations like Make UK in terms of understanding what are the barriers that need to be overcome and removed to support small, medium enterprises being able to access that direct spend, not just supporting the brilliant work of our primes as subcontractors, because we know that if they have a direct spending relationship with the MOD, they're more likely to be able to access overseas export markets. And it is precisely for that reason why we're just adjusting how we deliver defence procurement within the Ministry of Defence could not only spend the money better in the UK, creating more jobs, but it could also increase the size of our economy by receiving export orders from abroad. There's a number of questions from the members who've intervened on the Honourable Member which talk about how we invest more. I'm keen to invest more in SMEs, keen that we speak about the opportunity for young people to find a career in defence. That is a brilliant one. And the zigzag career proposal that the Honourable Member mentioned is absolutely vital, because we need to make sure that we don't provide cliff edges for people in regular service to reserves, able to transfer more easily, people to serve in our military and then our industry, and then return to service without there being cliff edges that get in the way. Huge opportunities, but I'm really glad that she raised this debate and we can have the conversation about how we can invest in our defence, grow our economy and provide jobs that will benefit our young people for their entire careers. Thank you.
Order, order. The sitting is suspended until 2:30 p.m.